Rough Country's M1 Adjustable Front Struts are more than just your average leveling kit. If you want more height and more performance from your Ram but don't want to spend a bunch of money to get it, these should be on your shopping list. With adjustable ride height and a total lift of up to 2 inches, they're going to allow you to fit larger wheels and tires and dialing your truck exactly the way you need it. So you get the clearance and the performance you're after, and you won't have to spend a ton of money for it. Just a quick note on fitment here before we dive in. These are designed to fit 2019 to 2024 5.7 liter powered Ram 1500s that are not equipped with air ride. Let's start out with the thing you all want to know: how big can you go when it comes to wheels and tires with this kit? With the struts in their highest setting, you'll get 2 inches of total lift up front, and that means you can fit up to 33 by 12.5 inch tires on your truck. If you have a high offset wheel, chances are good that you'll have to do a bit of trimming or deal with a little bit of rubbing at that tire size, but generally 33 inch tires should fit without an issue. The M1 loaded struts are the easy button way to get more height and more performance out of your truck. And as you can see, they come pre-assembled, so there's no need to mess with spring compressors for the sake of assembly. These are ready to go right out of the box, and they just bolt right in. They also feature the ability to adjust the ride height, so should you want to lower them down later, you've got the option to do that, though that job will require some disassembly and the use of a spring compressor. At the core here, these are one of Rough Country's more premium shock options, featuring a monotube construction. Inside, you're going to find some serious kit, such as nitrogen charging and infinitely variable damping. So these are going to give you a smooth, almost stock ride quality, but they're designed specifically for lifted applications. This means that the damping is tuned to keep the ride smooth out on the road while not sacrificing performance out on the trail. To accomplish this, the M1s have self-adjusting deflected discs inside for independent rebound and compression adjustments, all of which is done automatically. So these are going to do a really good job of absorbing impacts and controlling rebound out on the trail. That nitrogen charging helps with heat dissipation as well, so even under aggressive off-roading conditions or washboard roads, the shocks aren't going to suffer from fade. Now, all of that means that you can use these to their full extent without worrying about them fading or losing control of the truck, even in the most difficult of conditions. Construction here is all quite solid. The shock bodies have an absolutely massive 2-inch extruded tube with a 46mm bore and an 18mm hardened chrome piston rod, so they are really solid pieces. The bodies are finished in this nice zinc plating for good looks and additional durability. And of course, you get new top hats and new springs up front, plus vulcanized rubber bushings for less vibration and quieter, more comfortable ride quality. Pricing for this kit comes in at about $750, and for all that you're getting here, that is actually a really competitive price. There are less expensive options out there, of course, but they're not going to have all the features that these do, and they're very likely not to come pre-assembled like these are. Now, you could also spend more on another lift kit or a leveling kit, but for a truck that's going to see mixed street and trail usage, the M1s are an excellent option. Installation gets a 2 out of 3 on our difficulty meter and will likely take you around 2 hours or so to complete. Now, you can certainly do this job at home in your driveway, as there are no modifications needed to the truck itself. Just unbolt your old struts, bolt these ones right on, and you're ready to hit the road. However, as always, I like to make my PSA here: since you are adjusting suspension geometry, once you've got these bolted in, make sure you go ahead and get your truck professionally aligned. With that, let's head on out to the shop and we'll walk you through the installation process step by step.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact, 21 and 18mm socket, 15/16, 21, 16, and 15mm wrench, a hammer, and pry bar. All right, today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our Ram. First, we're going to watch a quick video how to uninstall a stock system, then we'll come back here to install the new one.
First things first, guys, of course you want to get your truck up in the air, whether you're using a lift or if you're working on the ground with the jack and jack stands. Now, I got my 22 socket here in my air tools. I'm going to get this wheel out of the way so we can get started. First thing we're going to do with the wheel out of the way is disconnect a couple of ABS line clips. That way, when we're lowering down our entire spindle, it's not putting extra pressure on our brake lines. Now, this line here, the ABS line and the brake line are connected. So we're going to pull back on this plastic clip to disconnect and slide those guys out. Follow the ABS line up and it's connected to the upper control arm. We're going to wiggle that guy back and forth to disconnect it. Follow it back down to the spindle and there's one more to pull out. All right, now on the back of the spindle, you'll see this metal clip. It's more of an S-shaped. We're just gonna wiggle this rubber grommet out of that. And now you can see this whole thing's loose and has a lot of slack. Next step, we're gonna pick up our 21mm deep socket and we're gonna loosen it and remove the nut holding on our tie rod end. Now what I like to do is once I have that nut off, pull the tie rod end out And I like to put the nut back on just so we don't lose it. Next, we're gonna remove the bottom bolt of our strut. Now, it's a 21mm bolt head with a 15/16 nut on the opposite end. So I've got my wrench on the nut there and my 21 on the bolt head. We're gonna get this guy off. Now, we may need a hammer to just tap this out, but if you can wiggle it out, you can do that now. All right, next we wanna remove the bottom of our sway bar end link nut and the upper control arm to spindle nut. Those things are gonna have the entire spindle drop down, or the lower control arm as well, and we wanna make sure we have that weight supported so it doesn't drop down on us. So if you're working on a lift, grab a pole jack at this point. If you're working on the ground, a hydraulic jack will do the trick. All right, next up, we're gonna grab an 18mm deep socket and loosen and remove the bottom nut of our sway bar end link that connects to the lower control arm. Now, in theory, you could remove the top portion that connects to the sway bar, but I find it easier to do it this way just because there's a lot more room to work with and I can get an impact gun on here. So now we can take the 18 and remove it. With this out of the way, when we go to lower this thing down, the sway bar won't stop it from going as low as we need it. All right, so next we want to tackle the upper control arm to the spindle bolt. Now, when we're trying to loosen it, this is going to rotate back and forth. In order to keep it from doing that, to make our lives easier, I'm just going to take this nut off and put our tie rod end back on. Now, we don't have to tighten it down, but that'll keep it from moving around too much and help us out. With your lower control arm still supported, grab a 13/16 wrench or a 21, and you're gonna go in here and break this upper control arm to spindle nut loose. When we have this loose, I'm gonna bring the nut down to a couple of the last threads. We're not gonna completely remove the nut just yet. As you can see, the spindle is still attached to the upper control arm. We need to grab a hammer and break this guy loose so it'll jolt free. If you completely remove this nut, that'll break free and it'll drop down. So this is gonna help catch it. Then we'll come back and remove it. So we're gonna grab a hammer and tap on the actual spindle. You don't wanna hit the upper control arm. You don't wanna risk damaging the bushing. So we're gonna hit this side right here on the spindle. All right, so you saw us break that loose. Now we can remove our nut. I'm gonna grab a pry bar and put it on the coil and pull down on the upper control arm. That way we can disconnect them. Let's work that nut off. All right, I'm gonna drop that off to the side for now. You wanna grab the spindle and slowly let go of the upper control arm. Now we can bring this down. Now I'm just gonna take that nut and again, just thread it up on the upper control arm just so we don't lose it. All right, now we have our truck lowered a little bit to gain access to the top of our strut. Now there's 3 nuts. If you push this liner back a bit, 1 in the front right here, and then 2 at the back. Now you'll see the wire is actually mounted to the top of that, so we'll be able to pop those off in just a bit. I would definitely recommend a 16mm ratcheting wrench. I have a longer guy here to give me a little bit more leverage. This is gonna make life a lot easier just ratcheting back and forth. Otherwise, you can use a regular wrench or a ratcheting socket if you can get it in there. So let's get these 3 nuts off. All right, so now I'm just reaching my hand back in here and I'm gonna wiggle back and forth the wiring harness to get them off of the stud. All right, so we got one of them off, this little clip. Just pull that back and rotate it up. Let's do the same thing on the other one. And again, I know this is tough to see. Really just pushing it out of the way. All right, so now we're switching back over to our ratcheting wrench and we're gonna work off the last 2 bolts. All right, at this point, the strut is loose. We just have to get it out of position. So in order to do that, I'm gonna push down on the entire spindle lower control arm assembly, lift this guy up, and pop it out. Just like that.
So now we're gonna go ahead and get our strut in. Now your strut does come at the highest level. If you do wanna lower it, you are gonna need a spring compressor and snap ring pliers. Under this cup here, you'll see a bunch of rings going around. There's 1 snap ring. If you want to lower it, you just need to keep lowering it all the way down to the bottom. There's 4 spaces. So it's all the way at the top now, so we're going to leave it there. We're going to get this in now. We're just going to slide it up under our control arm, line up our top studs, and just get it set on our lower control arm here. Now I'm just gonna loosely install a couple bolts at the top just to hold it up so we can get our lower main bolt through. Now we're gonna get our lower bolt through our lower control arm here. So we're just gonna lift up on our knuckle a little bit, get this lined up. Might just need to twist a couple things around just to get everything lined up. Give it a tap with a hammer. We'll go ahead and get our nut on the back side and tighten that down. Now we're gonna grab our impact 21mm socket and then our 15/16 wrench. So we're gonna come to the top here and we already have our nuts threaded on. So we're just gonna snug them up by hand and then grab our 15mm ratcheting wrench and tighten those down. Make sure that you secure that harness back down so it stays out of the way. So now we're gonna get our knuckle back in our upper control arm. Just get everything lined up. And get our nut threaded back on. Let's get that started. Grab our 21mm ratcheting wrench and go ahead and tighten that down. Now you see that's gonna start to spin. Just gonna grab our pry bar, just put some tension on that upper control arm. Underneath the control arm, we're gonna get our 18mm nut back on for our sway bar length. Get that threaded on, then grab our gun and socket and tighten that down. All right, so we're gonna get our tie rod back in our knuckle, thread on our 21mm nut, grab our impacted socket, tighten that down. Then the last thing we need to do is re-secure our harness here. So we're gonna start on the back of our knuckle, just push that in that metal clip. Then we just have two more spots for our harness here. One here on our brake line. Get that back in there. And then this one which re-secures on our control arm. Now once you have this all secured and put back together, you're going to repeat all those same steps on the other side of the truck. And that wraps up our install of our rough country suspension M1 adjustable leveling front struts for a 0 to 2 inch lift for a 2019 to 24 5.7 liter Ram 1500 without air ride. And remember, for everything Ram, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.